Hello, America. Welcome to the Juneto Podcast, where we promote the practical applications of critical thinking and bold creativity. As always, I'm your host, Edgar Mills. Hello, America, and welcome to episode 9 of the Juneto Podcast. Thank you for listening. Today, we're going to be talking about teamwork and collaboration, collaborative efforts to achieve common goals. I personally don't have a whole lot of experience with this. Yes, I do own my small business, Osprey Shooting Solutions, along with the Southern Ornithological League and now the Juneto Podcast. However, most of this up until now has been a sort of a solo project. Now, that's not to say my son hasn't been a very critical part of this. My son does help, but I don't consider that, or haven't considered that up until now, a partnership. He's my son. He's blood of my blood. I trust him with whatever, my life. So it's not a big stretch for me to ask him to take care of something and know that he's going to take care of it. But now we're getting along in the process here. We've been running since 2017. That's about 8 years that we've been up and running as an LLC. Now, the first 3 years we were in Colorado Springs, and we were certainly a part-time organization. Obviously, I was still active duty. I was still deploying during that time. So, but we did that to sort of slowly but surely build a reputation and a base, clientele base. And we did a pretty good job of it, I think, in Colorado Springs. And then, and then we moved to Georgia. So now the dream has always been to have a range complex. and we're getting to that now. But what that means is I now have to put my trust into someone else. I have a partner. Well, we're de facto partners. We both have a common vision, common goal, common background. And we both obviously want to make money. And we both obviously are passionate about what we're doing in the shooting industry. So I think it's going to be good. I have no reason to think anything will go south. I have been in my past somewhat of a control freak. And I'm learning slowly that I have to be able to put trust into other people. And that's all right. I'm also very adaptable though. I think it's gonna be very good. So collaboration, right? I grew up in a time in the 70s and 80s of, I think, still individualism, rugged individualism, right? Jeremiah Johnson, going it alone, being independent. That was admired. And to be quite honest with you, I moved around so much in my youth up until adulthood and even in adulthood that I never played team sports. I played football for a few years that I never got to finish a season or start a season. It was spring training and then boom, I moved somewhere else. So my team sports, the benefits that come from team sport, I see through other people as being very, very important. But I had to learn in a different way to play well with others. So I joined the Army. And that is a team sport, very much so. And even then, I was still somewhat of a individualist. I never quite fit right in. I was an individualist still. And I held on to that throughout my entire career. And my career is not a storied one. I was never one of the golden boys at all. People didn't like me based on my very direct communication style. And I had anger issues, probably a little bit. And so I've been accused of being difficult and things like that, but I've never been accused of being incompetent. I can tell you that. Still, teamwork was very important, especially on a mountain team, which I was on most of my career. Teamwork is critical. someone's got to belay you, and you have to trust that guy. Not only that guy, but the equipment and everything else. And I put a lot of trust in my teammates during that because I was somewhat of a chicken shit when it came to being up in high places. And I'm still scared of heights to this day. However, that was overcome to a certain degree. Individualism, self-reliance, all those things, I was very much that. I believed in that. And that's not to say selfish. There's nothing I hate more than a selfish individual, especially a selfish man, a capable man. There's nothing I hate more than a selfish, capable man. But there is rational self-interest and things like that to be looked out for. And we'll get into some of that stuff. I'm a big follower of Ayn Rand and the philosophy of objectivism. You guys may or may not know that. And that philosophy very much celebrates the individual. And even selfishness to a degree that as long as you're doing what's good for you, that will be good for other people. And that's provided that you have integrity and not a nefarious character, of course. But even then, using Atlas Shrugged as an example, all the creators, the successful people, the business titans who were the heroes of that book, they still came together in a collaborative effort to create and Galt's Gulch, which was the fictional escape from the crumbling world that the government was basically driving into the ground. And that may seem a little familiar, but at any rate, it was a collaborative effort. These people, they vetted each other in their own way, and they eventually came together for a common goal, a common desire, and that was to create Galt's Gulch. And anyway, if you haven't read the book, you ought to. It's awesome. It's very, very libertarian, and it's very capitalist, but it's also very inspiring if you seek to build something greater than, if you seek to follow a dream that you have, to build a business, then that's a good guide. It's a very good guide. But these days, these days, things are expensive. The cost of living is expensive. The cost of doing business is expensive. Now, I come from the low end of the economic spectrum, and I was never smart with money, and I never had money anyway. I don't know if this resonates with people who have money and have always had money, but this will probably resonate with people who are working class guys who struggle. It takes money to make money. Everybody's heard it, and I believe that to be true. And this is speaking of money, right? This deal we're about to embark on here to build our range, only through collaboration could I have had that and found that through collaboration. If I had $200,000 to buy land, then this would have happened 5 years ago. But I don't have the kind of money to do that. I may have been able to make a better strategic decision when buying my house that we live in. But after analysis, like right now, my range is on my property, my residential property. And I'm pretty sure my wife gets tired of hearing gunfire every day. And even when I have people down on the range doing their own private stuff, I get a little sick of hearing gunfire when I'm watching TV and trying to do other work and stuff. So at any rate, my point is, it takes money to make money. And had I don't know, maybe possibly managed money better throughout my career, for sure. But if I was a guy that had a lot of money, I would have been able to get going a lot faster. But I think that's kind of God's way of testing and molding my patience. I've never been a highly patient fella. And these days, my patience is improved by leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds. And I'm glad for it, but it still hurts. It still hurts me. That being said, speaking of teamwork and collaboration, a friend of mine in Colorado Springs, I'll go ahead and say because he's posted it, Mark Fitzwater. He runs I-68 Consulting, and he does the exact same things we do. Teaches firearms training and does security consulting and various things. He has broken ground on his range in Colorado, and I couldn't be more excited and proud to see how his stuff shakes out. And I'm sure he's excited to see how mine shakes out. He and I before we moved to Georgia, Mark and I came together to talk about collaborating. How can we improve each other and get together and do great things. And then I ended up moving. But we have very similar thought process on it. I got on a tangent, but what I'm getting at here is the burden, the financial burdens of running a business are just immense. And partnering with someone to share the burden of not only finances, but knowledge and skill sets and things like that can open the door for bigger and better, right? And the same applies, and I'm not getting into marriage counseling here, but the same applies to marriage. You're partnering with someone to do life. Now, I know some power couples who work together, who created a business together, be it real estate or a brewery or whatever, and they have a common goal for business, and they also happen to be in love, and that's awesome. But at minimum, if you and your wife don't work together, you do separate things, you're still partners in life, and you still have to share the burden. And it's good when you can share the burden on things. Some days you just can't deal with it, whatever it is, and your wife might pick that slack up. And vice versa, some days she just might not be able to deal with it, and you are expected to pick that slack up. I hate to make it sound so, it's a business, it's a partnership. And unfortunately, because the government makes you get licensed and everything, it's a legal partnership. But my wife and I talked a little bit about that today, about expectations when it comes to getting married to someone. And the question is, how often do couples talk about expectations? Right? They in love and they want to do, oh yeah, we want to buy a house and have kids. Those are very generic, broad expectations. And some people don't even talk about that. Some people don't even talk about kids until they get married. But how many people actually talk about behavioral expectations? Like, look, when I'm down, I expect you to be there to do this, that, and the other. And I will do this, that, and the other. Right? Or if you're a stay-at-home mom and that's the plan is to raise your children and homeschool and things like that. And the husband has expectations of being the breadwinner, while the wife has expectations of raising children who are well-adjusted and intelligent, right? And yes, a working dad will take part in that. However, expectations, you got to talk about them with your wife. And you got to talk about them with your business partners. So, back to business. Yep, my de facto partner, Kurt, and I have finally gotten close enough to a handshake. Well, we do have a handshake. Now we're trying to gather enough information to we don't have enough information yet to hit go on the button. And we don't have money yet. That's another thing, and that's part of this right here is at some point, and I've said this plenty of times, is we are going to be doing an all call for investors, anyone interested in investing. And there's going to be a few options on that. And when the time is right, we'll put that out. But we are certainly looking for investors. And then another way that we're going to do that is we're going to do a pre-registration for the range. So you can get in early, a membership early, because there's going to be a finite number of memberships available just based on capacity. Now, we expect this range to be able to have a pretty large capacity. However, it's not infinite, and we can't just take members nonstop. So that's a thing. That's a thing we're looking at. But I'm very excited about that, and I've slept on it. I've prayed on it a little bit, and I'm very excited to be partnered with the guy that I'm partnered with. I don't think I would have been able to find another, other than my best friend, Timmy Haynes. I don't think I would have been able to find a better fit to go into this business with. So I'm very excited about it, even though it's a new thing, literally a new thing for me to partner with another person to see my dream realized. It's a very exciting thing. Collaboration on other efforts. We have a course coming up pretty soon, on May the 24th, in fact, with a company called Vitac Solutions, and they do medical training, stop the bleed, first aid, CPR, all those things. And I happen to know one of the fellows involved in that, and I do trust him as well. He's a former Green Beret, and we work together, deployed together, and things like that. And we're going to do a course together where they do the first aid part and I do the everyday carry part of that. And that's a collaboration it's new. We haven't done it yet. And hopefully it goes well, and hopefully it'll be a thing that it's ongoing. Maybe every quarter or, a couple times a year at least. So there are plenty of people in the sphere of what I do that I trust to work with. But again, there's very few that I would jump into business with. Very few that I would jump into business with. And speaking of former collaborations, Nathan Hicks of Higher Ground USA, he and I do a search and rescue mountaineer course together. And that's a collaborative effort. And I don't know that we were both overly cautious, but we were optimistically cautious about doing it together. I think it turned out quite well, and I think we plan to do another one, maybe late fall. Not quite sure yet, but that's a collaborative effort between two companies that I think was very successful. I know the class was. I love doing the class, so I might be a little biased, but I love doing it, and I hope the people who did the course love taking the course. But that's a collaborative effort. I have collaborated with 3 of 7 Project on a course that we did over. It was called the Guardian Directive. So there was a lot of stuff involved in that. It was sort of a very involved course, and I did the shooting piece of it and did some presentations on situational awareness type stuff and classroom stuff. That was a good one. It was big. It was a little pricey for the people taking it, but I hope they got the value out of it. I had a great time doing it, and I had fun sort of going back and forth with the 3 of 7 fellows, because we probably weren't 100% on the same sheet of music, and I still think we delivered an excellent product. So even then, professionals can make things happen. So there was enough, once again, optimistic caution there. We went into it, and then we delivered, and it was great. And that was a good collaboration. So I think these days, especially these days, your average citizen, I think your average working class citizen, doesn't have a whole lot of disposable income right now. Hopefully that'll change, sooner than later. But especially since 2020, it's been kind of hard times. And some people consider firearms training and teamwork leadership training as a luxury, not a necessity. And it depends on what business you're in, really, whether or not it's a necessity. I think for like law enforcement, for sure, it's a necessity to do firearms training. So I think collaborating with other companies to put on something that's pretty robust and very heavy on value to make it worth your hard-earned bucks. I think I think collaborative effort are the way to do that. There's plenty of dudes out there running solo, and they're happy enough to do what they're doing and make what they're making and put out their product to whoever they put it out to. And I'm happy to do that too. And I do that. But I think branching out and getting your feet wet in different areas is pretty important, especially from a business perspective. I could do my firearms classes from now on, make enough money to live the current lifestyle I'm living, which, by the way, isn't. For those of you who've been out here before and you say, "Oh man, you got a nice property and a nice house," just understand I'm wildly overextended on that. But this is the retirement house, so it had to be that way. Anyway, yes, teamwork, effort, collaborative effort to reach a common goal. And one of the ways that you can get yourself into a position to do that is to make yourself available. I didn't always do that. I didn't always make myself available. But one, make yourself available. And then two, ease off, kind of mind yourself on passing judgment on these other people, these other companies. If there's something about a guy you don't like, and it's some innocuous, like he's got a lisp and that's it, then that's not valid, right? That doesn't mean you can't do great things together. Now, if it's a character flaw to the point of where there's integrity involved, then yeah. So you have to be a good judge of character to figure out who you do and do not want to do business with. Some people are better at that than others. I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character given life experience and where and how I grew up. And then even in the military, you meet so many different types of people from so many different backgrounds who have so many different motivation and value systems and all those things. And I think that has helped me in my life to be a very good judge of character. So I hope that I put off the same vibes that I look for in partners. One, dependability and reliability, right? That you're going to be there and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Very, very critical, very important. And two is work ethic, not just reliability for a thing, but all the time reliability, work ethic. Very important. And then selflessness. Now I know in business it's all about making money, sort of. But you don't have to be selfish to make money. You can be fair, offer value, offer a good product, and as the old saying goes, undersell and overdeliver, and you can still make a good living doing that. In fact, I'd argue you make a better living providing good value. So, however, selflessness, I think that's very important. And I know that Ayn Rand tells us there is some righteous selfishness, and that's true to a degree. If you can't help yourself, you certainly can't help other people. If you can't keep your own house straight, you certainly can't help anyone else straighten their house. So there's always some nuance. There's always some nuance. But self-reliance versus relying on others, I think that is a barrier that maybe some men, I see a lot of my former teammates out there collaborating and getting involved in all these nonprofits and all sorts of things. And that is it's just awesome that that's the case. But I know a significant other group of humans who are also, teammates and workmates and everything else who are, isolated. They isolate themselves sometimes or they just refuse to. Hey, there's a couple of them who are just so arrogant that they will only do their thing and not work with other people. And then there's some who just don't want to be bothered by the bending to anyone else's expectations. So there's a lot going on there psychologically when it comes to depending on other people. And I'm sure there's plenty of you out there who have been burned in business or in friendship even. I have been burned in friendship for sure, but not business. And crossing fingers, saying a prayer. I think I think our next move forward is going to be a good one. I think there's going to be longevity. In fact, that's one of my stated goals is legacy. I plan to build this complex, this range complex, to endure, to sustain. I expect to see my not only son but grandson and grandchildren and great grandchildren and on down the line. I fully expect this to be a Mills family endeavor, not just my passion project. And that's one of my most important top sort of priorities there. And I think it'll be that. I think it'll be that. I think ultimately, and what I'm coming to grips with is that ultimately, I think that if I tried to go it alone, I think it would be another 3 or 4 years before I could ever get any traction or at least money to do my own thing. Whereas right now, and I don't think I'm being impatient at all. I think the stars have aligned, and I think we're going to be able to move forward with a professional range complex and offer professional services and host professional matches and so on. So I hope that I can be an example for those of you who do listen, and I hope that I can take some wisdom from some of you. I happen to know, like I said, a few guys I know that have been burned with business partnership, and it probably went down a little sour, and it probably left some lasting effects. So I hope that I have gathered enough wisdom from that, from knowing those things and knowing those people, and to apply to this. And I hope that my future endeavor here, along with my partner, who is Kurt, by the way, if I didn't say that already, that we can be an example for how to get things done from a working man perspective. From a working man perspective. Yeah. So now I've talked a lot about that and probably not said a lot. Again, I want to jump back on marriage and partnerships real quick. Personal partnerships. Yes, women's liberation, whatever it is you think you can throw at a thing, whatever excuse it is you think you can make for not pulling your weight in a relationship, you're wrong. If you're a grown man and you think that just because you work 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day or do a 24-hour shift, that you don't have to do anything around the house, or if you don't have to have meaningful interactions with your children and don't just expect your wife to do it, you're wrong if you think that's the case. You have to participate in your life. You have to participate in your life, and you have to be a partner, not an individual who comes home and does his individual thing. And the same with a woman. There was a bizarre video on the socials the other day, and it was a woman, probably I think 30 or something. She'd been married, got married, and had been married for about 3 years. And she went on and just ranted to the great wide world about how disappointed and miserable she's been. That she was miserable every single day of her life. And subsequently, her husband heard that and divorced her. However, what I'm getting at here with that and what I got from that, and and me and my wife talk about a lot of these types of things. Expectations, folks, managing expectations with a business partnership or with a personal partnership. You have to manage the expectations. So, when you sign a contract in business, those expectations are largely written out. When you sign a contract in marriage, they're not necessarily written out. But never mind that, is having the ability, internal ability within yourself and within your own mind to know what realistic expectations are, to understand that life isn't a fairy tale, even for the ones on social media that look like it's a fairy tale, not. And your expectations need to be realistic. They can be high, but they need to be realistic. And one of the main things here is from expectations to communication. You need to be able to communicate those expectations to your partner in such a way that isn't an indictment on your partner or a list of drill sergeants' instructions of tasks to be completed. You will do this, you will do that, etc. You need to be able to relay to your partner what your expectations are, and then in turn be open to what their expectations are, and then live to those expectations as much as you can, But once again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think MTV was the beginning of the downfall of modern society, and not with the music. I'm talking about after, the first couple of years it was all music, and then after that started getting these crazy TV shows, and then you got like teen pregnancy stuff. You got all kind of weird stuff that they're glorifying. They say they're not glorifying, but they're glorifying a bunch of degenerate behavior. There used to be a show on, I don't know if you guys remember, some Sweet 16 or something like that, where these spoiled 16-year-old girls would get thrown these just extravagant, opulent parties, and then if they didn't get the specific model of Mercedes or Porsche that they wanted, they throw a fit and all these things. Having that stuff on TV and glorifying it as normal or like you should be able, this is what should be for your 16. That's madness. It's absolute madness. Anyway, I rip on MTV a little bit, but expectations, I think a lot of people get caught up in what they think, how they think a certain behavior should be or what their life should be like, without understanding that they need to relay that to their partners or even themselves, managing their own expectations within themselves. What do you expect of yourself every day? Are you doing the things that you know you need to do, or you to be where you think you want to be at? Man, that could be anything from going to the gym to getting that maintenance surgery you've been needing for years, or to, stopping by your grandma's house once in a while. Are you doing the things that the person that you expect to be, that you want to be, does? Are you doing those things? Or do you come home and blow up on your kids or your wife because the house is a little messy, or you're not having the thing for dinner that you wanted to have, so you blow up on someone, or you just, I'm going to go get my own food, or things like those simple things. And I know it almost doesn't even warrant talking about those simple things, but those simple things are daily life. That's daily life. So teamwork is important, whether it's in business, whether it's in personal life, even amongst your workmates, even if you don't own your own business, right? Even if you're a cop or a firefighter, or you work at the AutoZone, those people who are there with you, they are your team, whether you like it or not, whether you like them or not. So the best thing I can say to that is be a good teammate. And you don't have to, you don't have to go out and be swinger buddies with a guy to be able to work together, right? You don't have to like him necessarily, as long as they have a level of integrity that is on par. You guys don't have to be best buddies to be able to work together, show mutual respect, and that kind of thing. And the expectations you have of your teammates, some people will disappoint you, and that's just a fact. I have probably disappointed people in my career based on, I don't know what, various things. just being an asshole in general probably is disappointing to some people who might otherwise think you're a great guy. Or, in the military, especially in special operations, it gets very judgmental around how fast you can run and these things. So, some people might be very disappointed with that, right? You do have to pull, especially in special operations type things, or if you're a SWAT guy or a firefighter. Yeah, you need to be able to pull your weight and then some, and you need to be able to show up when it's time to show up. But manage your expectation. Manage your expectations so that you don't get out of sorts when somebody disappoints you. I used to always say that I hope for the best and expect the worst. And then when the worst happens, I'm not surprised. I just adjust and drive on. I used to be, well, I'm still kind of cynical, really, but trying to be less cynical these days by seeing the good in me. And some of you out there, you're in a position right now where it's real hard to see the good in, maybe your career choice, or maybe you've had a bad run and a couple of years of real bad run there, and then you're rebuilding or something like that. And it's real hard to see positive stuff. I can tell you this, speaking of teamwork and collaborative efforts, find the most positive person you know and then glue yourself to that person. Jump in their pocket and learn to be positive. That's one of the most important things you can probably do for your life, is just learn to see the good versus always looking at the bad. Bad is everywhere. And if you dwell on the bad, it's just going to, oh my God, it'll bring you down. It'll bring you down and it'll crush you. If you see the good, expect the bad, but look for the good. If you look for it, you'll find it. And when you do, it'll be good for your soul. Now, I'm not trying to proselytize or spread the gospel too hard, even though that's where it's at, right? Go to church, man. Yeah, and I don't mean mega church. I mean, there's probably somebody at your work that goes to church and probably is a positive guy, and you and your teammates might shit on him a little bit for being a Christian, but whatever. I bet that guy's living his best life. You can live your best life too. You and that guy can make the same amount of money, have the same car, have the same amount of kids, and see things in totally different perspectives. Find somebody who is positive, who can see the positive in any situation. I haven't been that guy always. It will change your perspective when you start to do that. So many people, there's so much to gripe about. Oh my, and then politics. Well, oh my God. If you dwell in the politics, it'll crush your soul. Especially if you're on the red team or blue team. Right now, the blue team, I don't know if you guys know that Hitler is the president of our country right now, apparently. So all that rhetoric and all that left and right garbage that they spew at each other on television every night and on the socials, it's just going to bring you down. It's just going to bring you down. Look at the things. Yeah, go vote if you want to go vote, right? I say vote Libertarian. Well, if you vote Libertarian, Edgar, you're throwing your vote away. Well, you know what? Have some freaking integrity and vote for who you believe in. Don't vote for just because of the team. I follow Andrew Wilkow, and he's a conservative talk show guy, and he is adamantly against voting for third party in a national election. And he's pretty sure Ross Perot lost George Bush the presidency back in the 92, whenever that was. And that's probably correct. But, I mean, arguably George Bush was in on the friggin' JFK assassination, arguably. So, anyway, look at what's local. Look at what your life affects, what you can affect with your life and your deeds. And then work off of that. Look in your local community for positive things. And if you don't see any positive things, by God, go make some positive things. Go make positive waves. If you're a mechanic, you know, every so often have a day where you'll look at people's car for free and give them an assessment and, fix minor things. That, you know what? That's positive. And for these people who are really on the struggle bus and they don't have the ability to go get a $700, $1,500 repair on their car, you might change that person's life with something as simple as that. I'm sure a lot of you, middle class guys, you got a John Deere, riding more, I'm sure. Every now and again, man, go cut somebody's grass. And go cut a little old lady's grass just because. It's so simple. Yeah, so simple. So simple to help people and create that spark of positivity. Yeah, you might even get burned on that. But hey, man, take a lick and then keep moving. Some people don't know how to accept generosity or charity and you don't have to set it up as generosity or charity. Say, look, this is what I'm doing. And you can selfishly be selfless. Watch this. You can selfishly be selfless because ultimately you're getting as much out of that as they are. You're doing that for your own soul, for your own peace of mind and your own well-being. It feels good to do good. And all you got to do is do good a couple times and then it's kind of addicting. So think about that. It feels good to do good. Whether they appreciate it or not, you don't give gifts to receive adoration and appreciation. You do it because you want to give a gift. I give money to people all the time. I never expect to see that money again. If I see it again, great. That's awesome. If I don't, well, whatever. They're not able to do it. And I'm not really in a position to do that. But if people are asking me for money or how they need it, right? They need it. And if I have it, what's the problem? So do that little bit of positivity. If you don't see it in your community, create it. Get together with people. I know a guy down in Tampa, Florida. We worked together at SOCOM at JSAL, the Joint Special Operations University. We worked there. This dude goes out and makes pancakes. Is it every Wednesday? I think every Wednesday, like 6 a.m. until it's time for him to go to work. He goes out and sets up pancakes and makes pancakes on the street for homeless people and passersby, but homeless people. So they can come by and get some daggum pancakes. And he's built, people get in on that. It feels good to do good. If you feel superior for doing that, now that might be a problem, right? But if you feel good about doing it, then great. Continue to do it. You're probably making a difference in someone's life. You can do it alone or you can make it a team effort. There's so many things that a regular guy can do. Well, if you're a lady and you own a hair salon, once a quarter, do a thing where you do free haircuts for, underprivileged, whatever you want to call it, homeless, whatever, and not your normal clients. They're just offering services. I do a free everyday carry course once a quarter. And I do that because there are people who have been in close encounters, life or death, or have been robbed or even raped. I've had a client who has been on the receiving end of a rape and obviously after the fact thought it was very important to own a gun and know how to use it. She wouldn't have normally gone and bought a gun. There are people who have had incidents or have reason to need a gun for their own peace of mind and to be safe or to feel safe. And, they go buy the cheapest gun they can find, which is, it's all right, but they certainly can't afford training or to go buy 500 rounds to go do a course with. So that's why I do that, right? I don't have a whole lot of money to donate to things, and I don't go and do charity work very often. But that's the thing. I can offer my service for that. and get people, hopefully, peace of mind, and get them to a point where they're proficient. They're not a danger to themselves or others with a gun, and they can proficiently defend themselves. So you can do whatever zone you're in, whatever field you're in, you can do something. And if you're looking for something to do and you don't know what to do, go to your local church and ask them, hey, what can I do to help my community? I bet they'll have a whole laundry list of things you can do. And if you're a friggin' atheist, but you want to help people anyway, because even though you atheists have no idea where they got that value from, go give somebody some frickin' clothes, some old shoes. Don't drop it off at Goodwill. Go out to the streets and say, hey, I got some size 10s right here. If you need them, take them. Go buy somebody a meal. I know a guy who carries around like energy bars and bottled water in his car. Anytime he stops at a daggum stoplight and there's a homeless guy, like, hey man, come get yourself some nourishment and some water. Especially in the summertime in the South. Yeah, having water in your car. Hey man, that might save a life. You don't even know. You don't know what your good can do. Just like you don't understand the depths that your bad can do, especially on children and stuff like that. Profound and lasting effects when you're negative and angry. All right, I don't know what happened. I went from collaboration and teamwork to friggin' preaching, and I'm not a preacher. Be positive. Look for the positive in people. Look for people to partner with, to do different things, even if it's a hobby. Some dudes are solitary dudes and don't want to do things with other people. But, hey, having fun with other people is pretty fun. Find yourself a shooting buddy and come out and shoot at OSS. There you go. Find yourself a fishing buddy. Partnership is good. Collaboration is good. As long as you got a common purpose and common direction, don't matter what your motivation is. If you have a common purpose and direction, you can make great things happen. And I hope that we're going to make great things happen here pretty soon. And we talked about it before a little bit, but look for the range. Hey, it's coming soon. There's going to be announcements. There's going to be investor opportunities, and there's going to be membership pre-registrations. So be looking for that. Meanwhile, I'm going to close out with just catching up on what's happening on the calendar for OSS. We have coming up soon a rifle weekend, which we're going to run it the same as we did our pistol weekend 2 weeks ago. On Saturday, god dang, it's coming. I want to say Saturday, May. Oh my gosh, bear with me, people. I'm sorry, I don't already have my calendar pulled up. I should have. I'm still an amateur by a long stretch on this podcast stuff here. Current ops, boom, there we are. OspreyShootingSolutions.com. Current ops. And now it's loading very slowly because my phone is full of pictures and videos. It's dragging. Oh my God. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. Why is it dragging so much? There we go. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh, by the way, next weekend, 2, 3, 4 was going to be a 3-day land nav. We are going to reschedule that. We're rescheduling that. That was a private course. And then we had a few seats for other people. But then that group had a few injuries and they had a few life events. So we're rescheduling our 3-day land nav course. So if you weren't able to get in it, there's going to be another opportunity. And I want to say that opportunity is probably going to be in June or probably in July. All right. 17 May, Saturday, practical rifle, followed by 18 May, Sunday, dynamic rifle. You can take one course, either one of those if you want, or you can save a little money if you take both of them. You'll get a discount for bundling those. Then on 24 May, we are doing the joint course with VITAC, and that's the first aid, lifesaver, and then everyday carry. Now, out of that lifesaver course, you're going to get certified in AD certification, CPR certification, and then a first aid certification. And then that's in the morning, and in the afternoon, we're doing everyday carry. And depending on the how if that fills up, then we're going to do a class on Sunday as well. But I don't think it's going to fill. If it does, we're going to do it. We're going to push it to Sunday, or not push it, but do another one on Sunday. That Monday, 26 May, which is Memorial Day, we got an action pistol match. So that's going to be certainly 4, possibly 5 stages of action pistol. And we will run, that'll be hit factor. We'll run it USPSA style, and that'll be on practice score. Then on is there 31 days in May? Maybe. Then we have another wild card day coming up. And yeah, there are 31 days. So we have a wild card day on 31 May. We had some new folks come out to the wild card this past one. I think they liked it. It's a good format. Wild card is where we use the drill index card deck, and we pull out random drills, and we analyze those drills, and then we all run those drills together. And then the last thing we do on that day is we run the OSS challenge, the OS Blackjack 33 coin challenge. And if you score 90 points 90% or above on that, you can earn yourself a coin. No one has earned a coin yet. And then into June, we have a dynamic 2-gun course on 14 June. And I have free seats on that for cops, but I think those are filled up already. Thank goodness that we have some interested law enforcement officers who are jumping on some training. You can't beat free training, and the police need that. So there it is. That's the Saturday before Father's Day. It'll be a good Father's Day gift also. In fact, I may put out a promo code for a Father's Day discount on that as well. So hey, look for that on the social medias. 21 June, we have a Libertarian Range Day. So speaking of politics, if you want to come out and talk with people who are pro-small government, pro-freedom, pro-individual liberty, come on out and shoot with them. And we'll do some stages on there. We'll do some basic safety stuff for people who are not shooters. And then we will do some stages, some controlled stages for people who are shooters. It's always a good time. This will be our probably 3rd or 4th one. And then on 28 June is our free everyday course. Speaking of the free course. Now look, that's up on the website already. That thing fills up pretty quick. So go on the website and sign up for it if you are a new shooter. If you come out and shoot with me all the time, do not put yourself on that roster. That is for people who, 1, can't prioritize funds for training, or 2, who are unconfident with their pistol handling skills, or want to carry but just are too unconfident, or don't feel like they have enough skill or knowledge or proficiency. All right, that's who that's for. So that's out through June, folks. So check us out on OspreyShootingSolutions.com. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I'm going to continue on with it. I think it's a good thing. I usually get some pretty good feedback, and what I haven't gotten though is a lot of feedback on different things to talk about. I can always find something to talk about and then ramble on. If you have specific topics you'd like to talk about or get my opinion on, or come on the podcast and talk about things, hit me up. Let's do it. OspreyShootingSolutions.com, Edgar Mills at OspreyShootingSolutions.com, or you can do it through the website, TheJunetoPodcast.com. And also, I've had one person hit me up to ask me how to submit an essay, but no one yet has submitted an essay. And I've had one guy, my good friend Tim, who hit me up. The very first one I put up was from Tim. And then after that, no one else has hit us up. So this platform is for people to be able to have a voice without starting your own podcast, or without going and starting your own website, or whatever. We exist to bring people together that they can have a voice. And it's not just about shooting, or it's not just about leadership and teamwork at all. We can talk about a great many things. We can talk about, yes, we can talk about politics. That gets old. There's so many websites for that, podcasts for that. But we can talk about local things. We can talk about music. We can talk about art. We can talk about friggin' working on cars. We can talk about going camping and hiking and the good places for that. We can talk about, I'm not a runner, and everybody knows that, but I have a significant number of friends and local people who are ultra runners and all those things. Come on and share your thoughts on that, and we can get you hooked up with the right people. BMMF, BMM, stand by. Becca motherfucking Jones. Anyway, sorry. That's her thing. She's a trainer. She's an ultra runner. She's done all kind of bizarre, great things in the running community. And her and John Cox together host a couple of runs up in Tennessee that I'm sure they're happy to break you in on, or ease you in on. But all sorts of things like that. I have a good friend who used to race gravel bikes competitively, right? If that's a thing you want to do. I have a lot of friends in the fitness business, ironically, right? Because I'm only semi-fit, and that's once I'm healed. At any rate, and then I hope to have some interesting guests on coming up for you pretty soon. I have reached out to a significant figure here in Floyd County, and hopefully we'll get him on soon. At any rate, thanks again for listening, folks. I appreciate you all. I appreciate that you're seeking out a smaller venue than you can only do so much Sean Ryan and Joe Rogan. So reach out to us and be safe. Take care of each other. Love you guys.